us on Jacksonville Sports Station 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes, is presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products on 1010XL. Now your hosts,
Lauren Brooks,
Donna Murphy, and Blythe Brumley.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hey. Happy Tuesday on the third and final week of Jaguars OTAs. I may be a little bit obsessed with OTAs. I love going out to every practice that I can make it to. I don't care how hot it is. I just want to watch some football. So I want to know, am I alone? Are you two following along with every move these guys make?
Not at all.
No.
I mean, I love the idea that OTAs are back, but I don't follow them religiously whatsoever.
I mean, minicamp to me is much different.
Which is next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Right. So that to me, it actually gives you a little bit more of a taste than I think OTAs.
It's out every day, no injuries. That to
That's
me is
important.
the biggest deal.
Right.
Yeah. So far, 8 OTAs down, 2 more to go, no injuries. That's the best part.
Right.
For sure. But so in thinking about this, I was going to ask you two, other than running back Leonard Fournette, who would you want on your fantasy team as far as an offensive Jaguars player? And I learned tonight that neither of you knew that Leonard Fournette only went to day 1 of OTAs and hasn't been back.
No, because
So
no
that's
one,
why all this matters.
no one has talked about it.
Not that it matters. It doesn't matter to me that he's been there, but it is a little surprising because you would just assume that he's there.
I don't know why we made a big stink about Ramsey and Boye not being there, who
Well,
overperformed last year.
Ramsey hasn't shown up at all.
Right.
Boye obviously missed the first week, then showed up. But Fournette did go to the first day in the flex field and hasn't been back since. So I think that's why the story changed a little bit.
I'm confused though. There should have. I'm surprised that it wasn't more of a hubbub, and people aren't up in arms about that one. But whatever.
Maybe because it's to me, running back is the easiest position on the field, and it's just a position where you say, here's the ball, follow your blocks, go.
Well, but he was injured, and missed some time, so I would actually like to see him out there when it is just wearing pajamas, so that I know that he's back in speed, back in shape.
But didn't he show up to some kind of camp with a lower weight or something a few weeks back, I believe? He showed up really in shape. He had lost some weight, apparently, is what I heard.
He came to day 1 of OTAs, which was 2 weeks ago, yeah. By the way, I totally disagree that running back is the easiest position on the football field. But regardless.
What position do you think is easiest?
Probably fullback if there's an offensive one.
Well, there's a lot of schemes that you got to
follow.
follow.
As much about catching the football. Sometimes a fullback will catch the football out of the flats, but I think running back has to have excellent vision, and I don't think that part comes easy. And your blockers aren't always necessarily winning those battles up front. You then have to try and churn extra yards from and all that stuff.
But arguably, your success as a running back is equivalent to the talent on the offensive line, and then your ability to see those blocks and follow through with them.
Sure.
So it really relies on because when during the Jaguars running game last season, when Leonard Fournette was injured for a couple games, that we didn't really lose any kind of traction as far as the running game is concerned. So that really tells me that this offensive line is better than advertised.
They were really good last season, and I think the guys behind Fournette were better than maybe people gave them credit for. I think people have been writing off TJ Yeldon, and
Corey Grant.
They didn't need to. Corey Grant certainly had splashes, and Chris Ivory was here, although I don't really think he made much of an impact. So now back to the fantasy football question. Who would you take? And I just assumed that Leonard Fournette would have been your first choice, so that's why he's off the board. You can't select him. So who are you taking Jaguars offensive fantasy football?
Offensively, I'm taking Blake because even in his garbage time year, he won me a chance. The famous or the infamous year that he had nothing but garbage time points. He won me a fantasy football championship that year, simply based off starting him. So it would definitely be Blake, and it depends on how you're scoring in your fantasy league. A lot of leagues don't give 6 points for a touchdown pass for quarterbacks. A lot of them just give 4 points. But in our leagues, it's always 6 points. So quarterback is extremely valuable, and you want to take them early. But Blake is definitely one of those mid-tier guys that even as a backup, he's highly valuable.
So I was quick to react to that question, and I said, oh wait, never mind, that's special teams, because I immediately was like, Lambo! Aww. Wait, that's special teams, that doesn't really count, though he is going to give you points.
Yeah, he has money.
So if I am allowed, I will definitely choose Lambo. That would be my offensive slash
Would that be your
teams.
first offensive player that you select?
No.
Okay, good. That's good.
but that's where my head went right away. So I'm sticking with my choice because that is who I would choose.
Yeah, you can go special teams, sure. I guess the question was more you can't take a defensive player because some leagues do have defense
IDPs.
Yes, but I think I came up with several answers right off the top of my head. I went with Blake Bortles for one. Obviously, he's the guy throwing all the touchdown passes, if there are any, and hopefully there are a lot of them. But I also could go with a tie between wide receiver Dante Moncrief and tight end Austin Seferian-Jenkins. I think they are both going to be weapons that the likes of which this team did not see last year. They didn't have a great receiving tight end. Mercedes Lewis, obviously, longtime Jaguar, was a great blocking tight end, had some receptions and some touchdown receptions. But overall, that was not his strength, was receiving. And then as far as the wide receiver, with Allen Robinson out last year, this Jaguars team didn't have one guy that was a serious threat. I think Moncrief is going to be that one guy who's a serious threat.
Especially if he's on a one-year deal.
Right. He's
hungry.
And he's physical. That's what I didn't really expect. I didn't know that much about him other than he had been injured here and there. So I guess when I hear a receiver's been injured, then I picture more of a Marquise Lee body, just because Marquise had also gone through some injuries. That's where he got the nickname Albino Tiger, because he was never around, right? But Moncrief is not built like him. So, and he's super fast. It runs a 4.4. He's got great hands. So I'm leaning towards Moncrief as a wide receiver, but I feel like Blake has never had a tight end that's a threat in the red zone like he is going to have with Seferian-Jenkins. And that, to me, with the height of Bortles, with the height of Seferian-Jenkins, I feel like he can throw a jump ball up, say, go get it, and Seferian-Jenkins is going to be able to do that. And he also has great hands. You've seen that all through OTAs. So I love what we're seeing thus far. Now, granted, it's just OTAs. You can't draw that much from it. Jalen Ramsey's not out there. But it's still better to see the chemistry developing between these guys than not see it. Tyler, who would you take offensively for the Jaguars? And no, you cannot have Lambeau.
It's got to be Leonard Fournette. I don't know if we have any.
But you can't have him. That's the point.
That's the
I took him off.
question.
Yeah, absolutely, because I knew that would be the easiest go-to.
Can I trade my first-round draft pick for a next year's draft pick? I don't want anyone on the Jaguars roster. There's no
go
clear-cut
special
wide
teams like
receiver.
me.
They're not going to throw the ball to. I mean, Austin Seferian-Jenkins has high potential, but they're not going to throw the ball a ton. And Blake's a decent quarterback in fantasy, like Blythe mentioned. Like, he finished like top 15 the last 3 years, and only like a handful of quarterbacks have done that. But I can't rely on Blake in fantasy, so.
Yeah, he's definitely a solid backup choice.
You can take Yeldon or Grant as your second running back.
I want to convince him. Take Lambeau.
I try Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
All right, I got a vote. All right, if you could ask one Jaguars player one question, which player would you pick, and what would the question be?
I feel like it would be so easy to ask any question you want to Jalen Ramsey.
Yes.
Anything. It could be.
Yeah, but you may not get a good answer, depending.
It doesn't matter.
Sometimes
You won't get a
do,
great.
Sometimes you don't.
Right. It'll get a great answer. It might not be the answer you want, but something as simple as, are you Count Chocula or are you Boo Berry? Like, what? It doesn't matter. But I think any question to Jalen would be so much fun, especially if it has to involve his dad, because that interview, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, was the best thing that I've watched in quite a while.
He was certainly very relaxed. And he used to join us all last season, spitting facts with Jalen Ramsey, and he was fantastic in that. But when I went in the locker room the first year, he was mum's the word type of guy. And people would ask great questions, and he would just look at them and kind of give non-answers. So therefore, that's why I say you could go back and
now
forth.
You can't shut him up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, depending on the mood he's in.
Yeah, that was definitely my first thing. I was like, what am I going to ask Jalen Ramsey? If it was this year, if we got the opportunity to interview him, I would definitely ask him, is it more important to get paid or to share the wealth with your teammates? I think that would signal what his sort of overall goal is with the team and how he sees himself fitting in with the team along with all. Because even this past offseason, you saw him sort of campaigning for a lot of different players to come to town. Just pay him, just pay him. But now when it comes down to his contract and the numbers and how it works out for him versus other guys on the team, I'd be interested to see how he personally receives it.
All right, I took mine in a little bit more serious of a kind of a direction. I recently lost, my best friend that I grew up with, and so I've now just started to think along the lines of, what would I ask Telvin Smith? What would he want to talk to his brother if he got the chance to talk to his brother one more time, what would he want to say to his brother? Since obviously he lost
really
him last
sweet.
year. And so just because I feel like there's lots of questions, fun questions that we get to ask these guys when we have them on our shows. But it was one thing that I thought, this is something that I probably would never ask him in an interview style setting, but would be something that personally I would love to know what he would say. And I think he would give a really
Emotional answer.
a very emotional answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I laugh as I say emotional because we saw how emotional he was at the retirement press conference of Paul Posluszny, and some of us that were in there kind of joked like, this feels like a funeral because Posluszny is just retiring. He's not like,
he's not dying.
Yeah, he did not die. But yeah, so I think we came up with some good ones, and
I do have another one I would ask Brandon Linder too. I said, what should happen to players like Michael Bennett who take cheap shots against opposing teams?
I like that one. If I was going to ask Brandon Linder a question, it would be, and I thought of this too, can I go on your boat? Because the only time we've had him on the show was before he bought his boat, and I said to him, if you get a boat, feel free to take me, I love boats, I love fishing, and now that he has a boat, I'd say, okay, now can I go?
I'm
And the answer would
surprised
probably be no.
neither of you said you would ask Miles Jack if he was down.
We already know the
I
answer
brought
to
that
that.
I'm getting a little tired of it.
We already know the answer to that. We have a little pro golfer conversation and a discussion about Serena Williams. That's all coming up next. You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes on 1010XL.
The station with balls and strikes.
Live spot next week? All right, you got it.
Jacksonville Sports Radio.
I was
on
really
the
surprised.
paper.
I really thought someone was going to go Miles Jack.
Well, I didn't know the answer. That's not a question. I
Man, that's true. No one's throwing that in my face. Nice.
asked him that.
They asked Coach Marone that a couple
Yeah, I
weeks
heard
ago
that.
on PFT.
That's so funny.
Welcome in YouTube. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. If you're just joining us for the first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We go live once a week every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you subscribe and hit the little bell, then you'll get a notification anytime we go live. We only go live once a week, so you're not going to get spammed with a bunch of crazy stuff. We're going to talk about Eagles, Patriots, Serena Williams, golfers, Women's Golf Day, Disney villains.
Yeah, I don't.
And burner
that air
accounts.
never broke.
Yeah.
So whatever vent that is, that was always working.
Yeah, well, maybe they even turned it down.
See
'cause
what
I feel like it's
YouTube
even
has
colder
to
than-
Yeah. Well, I wonder if they got it fixed. Obviously not, since the fan's still on. But
Well, it seems like part of it came on because they turned the fans off down the hallway. So I
Right.
do think part of it.
Moncrief is I-C-R-I-E-E-I. I-E?
that's a good question.
IEF, I'm pretty sure. I think he spells it exactly like the
Yeah,
street.
IEF.
Yeah,
Like
because I think the street is also Moncrief Avenue.
I before E. Because that's one of those I before E except after C.
Right.
But
I hate that one because the more words you learn, you're like, this is so
Right.
not true that they taught you this in elementary school.
Yeah,
Boo!
is also the street.
Not true. This is false.
But wait, I before E except after C still holds in this case because it's CR.
I know, but like the older you get, like the more words you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a bunch of crock that we learned. Stop it. Stop teaching me this.
Well, names are definitely
Different, right?
are very tricky.
second. I'm gonna have to start playing in fantasy football drafts soon. Shit. Woke up this
playing
morning, I
any of
realized it
them
was
things?
June. No.
No?
I'm not playing. I'm at 3. I don't want no invitations to no more leagues, and I mean this in the
He does,
nicest way
like,
possible.
How many does Dempsey do? Like 20?
I think he said 19 or something.
It's ridiculous.
He said the other day he's done over 100 drafts, but I don't think he has 100 teams.
Jesus.
It's
Like
insane.
mock drafts?
No, there's a couple that he's done are early drafts too.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah.
I see. I don't like it that
He
much.
started doing drafts before the draft is what
Yeah.
Tony said. I don't really know how it works. But yeah, I know last year he was on like 20 teams
Yeah.
or leagues.
He loved it.
I
And then he
did-
also does
I did
NASCAR
two
and like he
last
does all different
Yeah.
fantasy stuff. But he is the fantasy guru.
That's a good one.
Mhm.
You know?
Well, and the fantasy golf helps me stay on top of it.
Yeah.
But we don't really talk golf that much other than the majors and the
Right.
players.
I tried playing fantasy baseball once, and I maybe last 2 months. That was it. I tried fantasy NASCAR once too.
Yeah, I
Didn't
lasted
like
half
it.
a season. I know.
You're the
I just
NASCAR
forget.
fan.
I know,
Yeah.
I forget.
Well, and I have a reminder on my calendar starting, when do we start fantasy golf? Maybe February? I don't think we start it for the Hawaii tournament.
fantasy
um,
golf.
For our golf league.
Yeah.
I think we start in February, so I literally have a calendar reminder every Wednesday from February through like October
Smart.
to remind me to pick my golfer. I usually remember before, especially I've done it so many years now.
Right.
But there are times where life is crazy and I will forget if I don't have the reminder.
Alex said we should do a helmets and heels plus shows fan league. I don't know how that would work.
Plus shows family? What does he mean?
Plus other shows? I don't know. What do you mean? It's easy to ask them.
Hi,
type
Alex.
it. Less than 2 months. I think the countdown is like 95 days until football season. Maybe
That was
94.
99 last week.
Yeah, everybody's is different because everybody's counting down
Yeah.
to their own kickoff. So like I saw
Is it to
on
preseason or
It should
regular
be the first.
season? The first.
first
Yeah.
game.
So like Jaguars.
Like I saw it say 99 for Jags, and then I think NFL Net and like NFL.com said 95 or 96. I was like, wait, huh? Oh yeah, you're doing it for like the very
Until
first
football
game.
season.
Oh,
93 days. 93 days until football. Thursday night
is
game.
that how that music is in the back? Scratching.
What?
You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Welcome back to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes. Let's get into, I don't know if you want to call it what's, makes you feel old and makes the youngers look weak or whatever, however you want to put it. But I found this topic hilarious, and I sent it to you last week because I saw it right away. I'm like, oh, I really want to get into this because this is so funny to me. So the pro golfers, Harris English, oh, that is difficult.
It is.
Brian Harmon and among others have been tweeting about the college golfers, which the college golf now is all over Golf Channel, especially with Ricky Fowler having the Oklahoma State team on there doing their show. So now apparently it's proper and okay for the college golfers now to use pull carts. And I guess that's a huge no-no for these so-called pro golfers. And so they got a lot of slack. They were throwing a lot of shade out on Twitter. English saying, I still can't get these pull carts. I can't take them seriously. Brian Harmon, I have questions. Do they travel with their own push carts? Do they put trendy stickers on them? Is there a pocket for all of their feelings? Like, they
Aw.
were really going after them.
I think it's all in kind of jest, though.
Well, I don't think so because Billy Horschel got into the mix.
He's a kind of a jokester kind of guy. Harold Varner was also on that list. He's a local guy. He's on up and coming golfer as far as locally on the PGA Tour.
Right, and with Horschel though, he will speak his mind and he will be a very outspoken guy. And how he says, yes, the pros did carry their bags at one point. So in essence, it's basically, the old men on the group saying, well, we did this in our day. You guys are little
shaming.
wimps, So I enjoyed it. I think it's ridiculous that they're going this far because, yeah, you may have done this back in your 5 years ago college years and carried
Right.
your own
These guys,
bag.
some of these golfers are not that old.
Right, but you don't carry your bag now. I don't understand why you are throwing so much crap at these college golfers who will pretty soon be up with you and then be beating you because maybe they didn't have to carry their bag this whole time. So maybe they had more muscles. I don't know.
Well, and doctors have found that it's better for the golfer's back if they're not carrying their own bag because obviously the weight is only being distributed on one half of their shoulders of their body, and so therefore it's better for them in the long run not to carry their bags which I'm sure is why professional golfers don't carry their own
Right.
bags. Because A, they don't have to, and B, they need somebody else's help. But, right, why would you criticize college golfers if the rule changed? Criticize
Right.
the NCAA for changing the rule, but not the actual golfers.
I'd take advantage of it if I was them. I wouldn't want to carry my. And I think those little carts are kind of cool. It's like I equate those to the hoverboards that you get to ride as well. That have replaced the golf carts. Instead, you got
Yeah,
a
those
hoverboard.
kind of haven't taken off though.
I wish
think
they
they
would.
kind of died away.
Well, and it's a competitive disadvantage if you're not using what you're allowed to use
Right.
in order to benefit you.
Well, so going off of this story, is there anything out there with yourself that you think, you look at the youngins, these so-called millennials, and you're like, oh, you guys have it so easy. You didn't do this and didn't do that.
I would say playing video games, because with a lot of the consoles nowadays, you can either download the content right off of the internet or you can play right on your phone. And back in my day, you had to use a game cartridge in order to get the game to show up on the television. I bought a Super NES, like a classic version that just came out last year, and it has 30 of the greatest games that I've ever played in my whole childhood. It's already on a console that's the size of your hand. And I just remember back to my youth days when I would take the cartridge and you'd have to clean the cartridge, or you have to blow in it in order to get it to work, and then you have to try different maneuvers like shimmying it inside the console itself in order to make the game work just to be able to play the game. And that was one of my back in my day stories.
Interesting. I would say, and this is probably not, they've probably done it right now, but I don't understand how we went for so many years with all of us fine riding in cars at the age of 7 and 8 years old, not in car seats. But nowadays, kids are forced to stay in car seats from being an infant, like through, it seems like 10 years old. And I'm sure it's, like I said, I'm sure it's better for them if they get in an accident and all that jazz. But we were all fine in our station wagons without any car seats until we were, what is it now, like 80 pounds or something?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I know every state has a different law, and supposedly it goes with age, but also weight.
Right.
So it depends. And with JT, he's a skinny little thing, so it's gonna be a while.
He's gonna be like 12 by the time he's out of a car seat.
I know, but also it's also how tall you are. So if you can sit up and the strap goes across your shoulder nicely.
So
and
Tyler, you would have been okay on height, but not on weight.
Right.
As a kid.
He probably still isn't.
I wasn't even listening. I'm so sorry.
You're good. We were talking about how kids have to be in car seats until they're a certain weight or height now.
It was only until I was like 14. It wasn't that big of a deal.
14?
Obviously kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But seriously, how old were you when you got to ditch the car seat?
I couldn't tell you. I have no idea.
So maybe it's happened since you were a child. But so when we were little, none of us remember being in car seats. Nowadays, 7-year-olds are for sure in car seats.
Definitely before I was out of kindergarten. Before I even entered kindergarten.
Okay, well, yeah.
There's no way I was in kindergarten and still in a car seat.
Nowadays,
That
if
just
you
seems
saw a kindergartner, first grader, second grader, even potentially a third grader, depending on if they're small, they would be in a car seat on their way to and from wherever they're going. Like I said, I'm sure it's great for safety purposes, but I think as a person looking back and trying to make fun of the youth, that's what I'm going with.
Well, I just and one of the things I talked with you, Lauren, before the show was I find it's just communication. When I first started dating my husband, so TJ, the internet was not around, okay? We didn't have email. We weren't doing that. He had to go stand at a phone booth. Do you remember what a phone booth is? And use the phone cards?
Yeah.
That's where he would have to come and call me. I would literally write him a letter every day. Mail a letter. But communication, because growing up in school, we didn't have that. You had...
Donna makes it sound like
the landline
I'm telling you.
phone.
Well, you had the computer just to... when you would go to the library and you would sift through old newspaper clippings. Remember? I don't know if you guys remember this.
Yeah, or you had the legend.
Oh, yeah.
Is it the legend where you had to learn how to find the book that you wanted, and you have to go to the certain Dewey Decimal Point,
Dewey Decimal,
whatever that is.
So it's so funny, but for me, it's
and
like...
it was called the microfiche, I want to say is what it's called. Which
I don't know.
it was the print that was like stored electronically, but
Right.
it wasn't the way it is now, scanned in. I'm pretty sure it's called microfiche.
But for me, it's more it's just all communication.
Especially for guys, too, because they had to call, and your parents probably picked up the phone, and if they called, tried to talk to a girl, then they had to go through that awkward, hi, Mr. So-and-so, can I speak to you?
Well, hey, nowadays, they don't have to be dumped to their face. Like, I had to appreciate the fact that, thank you, boy, for coming up to my face and dumping me in my face.
Not all of them do that.
You know?
Not even in today's age.
Well, but either way, someone would have come up to you and said, you've been dumped, or would have given you a letter.
A paper
and say,
note. Oh,
yeah,
that's one thing I do miss.
Check
is
yes
the paper
or no.
notes from high school and middle school. When a
saved
boy
all
would be
mine.
waiting outside the class and he'd hand you a note.
Yeah, now all you have to do is change your status on Facebook, and the kid will
no one
eventually
does
get
that.
the hint.
That's lame to do that.
I did have a friend in high school who I was calling his parents' house, obviously to talk to him, and I was calling about schoolwork, right? I was a dork. And I was not calling to like flirt by any means, but his mom answered the phone and she was like, I'm sorry, we have a strict no girls are allowed to call the boys policy. Boys are only allowed to call the girls. And she hung up, and then I called back and I was like, I am sorry, but I really could care less about your son in that way. I am literally calling because he needs my help with this, work.
Right.
Yeah, he probably should have called me, but I'm calling to help him, and so then I was able to speak with him. But I thought that was so funny. Like, that's how literally old-fashioned it used to be, Tyler. Girls were not allowed to call boys.
Do you know how that boy turned out?
I don't know.
I'd like to know how many issues he may have right now.
I think he's totally fine. I knew him in college some, but I haven't seen him in.
That's prepping a kid for issues is what that is right there. That's just.
Well, we were talking a few weeks ago about burning CDs.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with burning CDs to the point where I had Avery, the label making company.
Yep.
So I had blank CD labels that were stickers that I had then a computer program, and I would put all the songs, because I would custom make CDs. So I would put all the songs for somebody. So like for your birthday, Donna, I would give you this CD of Elvis, all Elvis songs.
You were way more advanced. I would just mixtape it, baby.
But I loved it because I would give these to people,
and CDs.
And they were like, "This is the greatest, mixed CD," and it was customized with. And I, of course, wanted to have even little palm trees and all this. I felt like I was technologically savvy at that time, using Napster and whatever.
LimeWire.
Yeah, and LimeWire in college. I loved it, and now that's all gone.
See, I loved listening to the radio. You're like, no, I want to record that song, and then you press, you record and play it.
And you have to miss the commercial breaks. You have to stop it at the exact right time, even before and the DJ would come on too early before the song ends and messes up your tape.
You're like, no.
Yeah, that is one thing. We are so spoiled with music at our fingertips.
Spotify,
I love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what if I did that now? Like, hey, I made you a Spotify playlist for your birthday. The person would be like, okay, so you just copied and pasted somebody else's playlist. Thanks for taking the time.
I've made playlists for other people.
I think that'd be cute.
But as an actual present, or just
I not a present.
That's
no.
what I mean. Like actually handing someone a CD that you specifically custom made for them
because it's tangible.
Way more of a bang.
You can hold it.
Present. Bang for my buck, which was pretty cheap.
I enjoy it. I know we want to get into Serena, but we'll do that later on. But this really quick, I don't understand. Please help me understand this, and it may be the patriotism in me, and by that I mean the New England Patriots. I don't understand the obsession and why these Eagles players are still going on and on about how much they hate New England and the Patriot way is crap and it was a miserable way to play, when it's players that it's coming from are players that stunk, that did not live up to their potential, and they didn't do squat. That's what I don't understand. That's why it was nice to hear Nate Solder, who has now left and gone to the Giants, but he said, they have very high standards. I never had any issues. The way that they pushed us, the standards they had for us, it's not fun to lose games. It's not fun to play bad football. It's fun to play well.
It's almost kind of indicative of the situation between the Yankees and the Red Sox years back, when you had the idiots with the 2004, 2003 squads going up against the rigid Yankees who are used to winning. It's sort of a similar comparison, where you have other teams that are sort of a ragtag bunch of guys and put together, and they take down the evil dynasty. I think it's exactly what happened to the Yankees. They have that rigid system, and now the Patriots have that rigid system too. And it's, if you want to go there, do you want to win, and how do you want to win? And I think a lot of guys might opt for the Pete Carroll lifestyle.
Right, I get it's not for everyone, but the main thing is nobody's asking them these questions. They're just bringing it up saying, I hate the Patriots and everything that the way it was. I just can't stand it.
I think it's because it's the very first time they've been able to say that with them on the winning side. If before they had said, I hate the way of the Patriots and Bill Belichick and all that stuff, no one would really have listened because it was like, well, you just don't want to win. And then their comments are kind of a moot point. But now, because they have been victorious over the Patriots, they're trying to say, hey, you can have a good, fun culture and win also. It doesn't have to be that certain way in order to win.
That's why I'm confused. Like, you had all postseason and all off season to talk about it. Now we're starting a new season. I'm like, why are you still why is this bothering you so much?
Poor Patriots fans.
No, I'm just so confused. I'm like, you won. I don't understand.
Maybe they see somebody posting something, or a friend of theirs plays for them and is complaining, and they're just now going, man, I'm so glad I don't play for them.
I guarantee all these stories coming out around the same time, they're getting asked these questions. That's definite. It's not just a coincidence that all these players are coming out all of a sudden. One guy makes a news story, and then the reporter, in the dead time that what we're in right now, you got to find something to write about for a lot of these reporters.
It's so bizarre, and it reminds me of they're almost acting like they're fans. Because remember after the Super Bowl when some Patriot fan parked their car in Philadelphia and fans tore it apart. They broke the windows. They threw paint all over the car.
Real paint.
What? You won! Why? I don't understand. Why are you acting like A's?
I don't that just goes back to Philadelphia fans.
Yeah, it's Eagles fans in general, because I remember working a beer tub for Super Bowl when it was in Jacksonville, and the Eagles and Patriots were playing against each other, and the Eagles fans that came by my beer tub, they said, if we win this Super Bowl, we're burning your city to the ground.
I don't, why? Yeah. I want to see what happens when their fans and the Bills Mafia get together. What happens?
Terrible. I would not, well, maybe I would.
Cities run out of beer.
Stay in your corner.
/ all the tables are broken. / I guess the one guy said he didn't punch the horse. I was going to say horses get punched, but the one guy comes back and says he didn't. Well, that guy says he didn't.
It's not the Cleveland fans that are eating horse.
I believe the horse.
Right?
Horse stuff off.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about J.R. Smith and fake Twitter accounts, and then a little bit later, we'll get to Serena, as well as have a dose of Daly's Place and give away tonight's Peter Burke chocolate heel. That is all next, so keep it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hi, this is Lauren Brooks. Making quality homes affordable, Dream Finders Homes is now selling in Deerfield Meadows, starting from just the 230s. Just 10 minutes away from downtown St. Augustine shopping and dining, this quaint community is perfect to call home. Offering large 70-foot home sites with over 2/3 of them backing up to water views or conservation, Deerfield Meadows is a must-see. Invest in your future in St. Augustine at Deerfield Meadows. Dream Finders Homes, homes to build your lifestyle.
More videos, more podcasts, more Jaguars. College football.
Just shut up. You won. What?
I know this is the world's smallest violin playing.
Like
for Patriots fans.
No, I'm just confused. Like, my mind is boggled. Like, I would so understand it if they lost.
It's the time of the year. There's nothing going on. OTAs, sure, but there's no big storyline. So these reporters got to find something,
right? I mean,
to write about.
You never heard from Falcons fans. You always heard from.
Well, they lost.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's why they ain't going to talk shit.
Well, I would hear more like, I hate you. I can't stand you guys. Like, I get it. Like, I don't understand. I'm so confused.
My mom sent me a picture of where they're staying this week in North Carolina. They're at their friend's cabin, and it is beautiful, and that's what she said. But it's hilarious because she got a picture of one person yawning, one person, my dad, staring like confused, and Susan looking like she's also confused.
I almost said the water hose.
Waving, it's like she just took the picture, but she caught some really funny faces.
What is that on the table?
I don't know. I didn't even look.
That was one I wanted to mention too.
Rooster lamb.
Did y'all ever drink out of the water hose? That was one that I was going to mention too.
Can you not drink out of the water hose now?
No, but playing in the sprinklers.
Right. Well, kids just don't really do that. They get bottled water or anything. But that was one of the back in my day stories. If you were thirsty, go drink out the water hose.
Well, see, I was going to ask if you're not allowed to, because I was driving home yesterday and I saw a sign. I think it was at Beach and Penman.
Yeah.
And it has a little sign that says, like, do not reclaimed water in
boil
use,
water.
Do not drink, because they're probably using, nasty water.
Know if I ever
it's
drank
just
out of the water hose.
It's just to get the plants going. But like, we have a shallow well irrigation system for our sprinklers, so we're not using city water.
Right.
But it's not drinking water either.
Mm-mm.
So, but I mean,
It's like a pump. Mom's
dog
got a
drinks out of it.
pump
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, my neighbor has like 6 kids, and a couple of the kids are a little bit younger, and they play outside every day, and I love it. But yesterday they were outside and they were playing catch and basketball at the same time. And when they got done, the mom was out there watching them, and she takes the water hose and starts spraying them off. Both of the kids, and then the one, like the older boy, he takes it and starts spraying off his brother, and his brother's like, "Oh, we just won the championship!" Like super cute kids, and I was like, "Oh, that's good to see."
That's funny. I enjoyed Martineau. Was it Martineau who said he was confused on the MLB power rankings? Somebody sent a tweet and goes, "I'm really confused by this."
I saw that tweet, but it wasn't Martineau. It was like a national person.
Was it? I forgot who it was.
It was Barrett Sally.
He goes, "I'm confused."
Yeah.
Because you look at the MLB power rankings and how it's Houston, and then the Red Sox, who have 3 or 4 more wins.
Well, maybe
it was so weird.
Him that tweeted something, but it wasn't exactly that.
I was laughing. I go, "I'm confused too," but.
Oh, his was about the Braves.
Oh, okay.
His was like, how did the Braves? They started the weekend in 5th, and then they took 2 out of 3 from the Nationals, who were in 7th, and then they flip flopped and
see they had the rankings.
Maybe it was Brent's tweet about the Red Sox. Not
it was very weird. Yeah, because with the Sox,
but
they
who cares
split.
about the rankings?
No, I know the Sox, they split with Houston, so I'm like, why would Houston go above Boston?
Oh, the accident that injured Bud Cully occurred near Urban Meyer's house.
Says everybody gonna blame Meyer.
What did happen? It was a car accident?
Yeah, 1 car accident. JD Martinez.
Another home run.
Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
20, baby.
First one in Major League Baseball this season at 20.
I loved his, they asked him how it is playing in Boston a few weeks back.
Uh-huh.
Did you see that?
What?
They asked JD Martinez what
Oh.
it's like playing in Boston. He goes, well, it's really different. It's very cold and rainy, you know. But then they asked him about the fan base. He goes, they let you know it, man. You may go 3 for 4 one night and then go 0 for 4 the next night, and they are booing you, letting you have it. I'm like, yeah.
They pull no punches.
Baseball town.
The Jaguars are 96 days away from opening day.
I saw Walter Football
Mm-hmm.
give them an 18 on the power ranking.
The Jags.
18 out of 32?
18.
Or
Yeah. Some teams he had in front of them, I'm like, why?
you know, I've noticed
Like Denver?
this with some radio hosts specifically.
Helmets and heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes.
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window
Trying to drown us
On
out.
1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Welcome back into Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes. My name is Blythe Brumley, and I'm joined alongside Donna Murphy and Lauren Brooks. And one of the bigger storylines to happen so far in the NBA season has nothing to do with the playoffs. It actually had to do last week when 76ers GM Bryan Colangelo was caught with 5 burner accounts on Twitter. And if you don't know what a burner account is essentially a fake account that you assume you just tweet from. But he had up to 5 of these accounts, and it was a crazy story that was revealed by The Ringer. I think the writer's name, Ben Dietrich, was the investigative reporter for The Ringer that found out about these secret accounts. And on these secret accounts, there was private information about players' health, personal information about different players as far as their playing abilities and how they were going to be, I guess, lots of personal information, stuff that a GM shouldn't be putting out there. And when it was discovered, what I thought was the most fascinating part of this is that when The Ringer contacted the 76ers before they broke the story, they contacted them to get a comment. And what they were doing is they were watching all of these different accounts. And after they notified the 76ers and asked them for a comment, all of the accounts went on lockdown immediately, like within 30 minutes, because they were watching them all live just to see how they would react. So since then, it's obviously been a huge story, especially on Twitter. I've been on Twitter since 2008, and this is one of the best Twitter nights I've had in a long time, and I wasn't even really planning on it, but you just saw the story unfold, and you saw the athletes and the organization find out at the same time. Most of the fans knew about it before even the athletes found out about it, so you could watch them tweeting about it, and then you could watch other teams that found out about it that are joking about it, and they start tweeting about it. It was a really I guess it was a fun night as far as, you know, controversies are concerned, and I guess a world that's as serious as this. It was definitely a lot of fun on my part. But now I guess the story has evolved into a situation where Bryan Colangelo, he's being investigated by the 76ers. He's likely going to be fired. He technically still is the GM of the 76ers. But now he is putting blame on his wife. He admits to having one of the accounts, but the other 4 accounts he blames on his wife. My first question is, do you believe him?
I don't know, man. I mean, if you're easily putting blame on your wife, I'm going to take a step back and be like, I got to hear the whole story. I got to see all this evidence. Because for a husband to go so easily to be like, she did it, and for the wife to be like, either surprise or, yeah, go ahead, I'll take the heat. I don't mind. I'm going to divorce you and take all your money. Anyways, well, I don't know how it's going to end on there, but no, it's going to be hard for me to believe him with anything, especially because I think with some of the ones that came out as positive in his end, yes. Right? They were defending him against the former GM. What you're doing is great, yeah. But I don't like these players, such and such and such and such.
And tipping off reporters to ask certain questions during the press conferences, and that's how he revealed some of the health information on some of the different players and why they didn't play, and how, you know, certain players, Joel Embiid was one of those guys that tweeted about it, and he even made a comment that the former GM was, I heard the former GM was better than you. And I
mean, it's nice that we're talking about this kind of controversy and it doesn't involve like any harassment.
Yes.
So it's fun in that way, but it's so dumb that you think you would need these accounts.
I thought Kevin Durant's one burner account was bad.
Because it is. You shouldn't need, I mean, Kevin Durant's a whole different situation. But this guy also, you should have enough confidence in your life when you get to the point where you're a general manager that you don't need a fake Twitter account propping you up. And I don't believe him at all, because if you're going to have one, why wouldn't you have all 5? Mm-hmm. And are you really dumb enough to give this information to your wife to then ask her to tweet it and think that it's not going to affect you in the end, right? Like, you're still, if she gets taken down, you get taken down too, because where did she get this health information? Oh, I don't know, from you. Unless she was like off sleeping with one of the trainers or something, you know what I mean? Like,
ooh, that would be a nice twist.
That would be like a very, what are the shows that you watch?
Oh, my soap opera?
Yeah, the soap opera. That's exactly what that would be on. And then the music would go dun dun dun.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is rumors as far as who was the original tipster, because there was somebody, it was an anonymous tipster that's been hitting this reporter up for the Ringer since January. He's been hitting his DMs and saying, you need to, I have a scoop for you, you need to listen to me. And they just blew it off for a little while, and then he started getting sent information, and he had to, the writer along with the Ringer staff, and what I found is most fascinating about this story is that they had to go through all of these different tweets for these different accounts, and it's sort of a window into the mind of a GM, but you're not getting like the PR version of it. You're seeing his honest opinion, his honest responses that are on these variety of different accounts. And then they use this software, this like data analytics software that compared the grammar, the people that they follow, the text style, the tweet style. It compared all of those different things in order to find those different 5 accounts. Like, that to me is what it's like a digital crime that's being solved right before your very eyes.
If those accounts were closed, then did the Ringer go back and literally screenshot every single tweet?
What they did is they combed through all of the tweets first, screenshotted the ones that they thought, the tweets that they thought were important, and then what they did, but while they contacted the 76ers, they kept all of the accounts open, and they waited for activity to happen on the accounts. That's why I don't believe him when he blames his wife for having the other 4 accounts, because you can switch between your accounts so easily on Twitter, and I think that immediately when he found out, he locks them all down, and they watched it happen live, which I think is crazy.
He had to surrender all of his devices, so we're gonna get to find out,
But
exactly
what does that
happened.
matter? Can't you just go on and get his? I don't know. Do you need the phone to be able to look up my Twitter?
Well, but what they can do is go in the phone and then see if any text messages that he sent out and things. So, like, if his wife was involved, they can see any sort of messages sent between the two of them.
True.
But
Like, hey, I drafted this up. Go ahead, send.
Right?
This
This is what I want you to say.
Do you think he's hireable as a GM?
I mean,
I say no. I don't think that as a GM. I think he's unhireable
Maybe
from
of
here
like-
on out.
I think
he can't have that position again.
he
could
needs
be
to go for the
lower
LeVar
level.
Ball, again, whatever, that league. He can go work for LeVar Ball's league.
I was like, how is he really?
I think that'll work. So,
No, he's
No,
got
I
to get
think-
some kind of front office job
But I
or
mean, you
something.
still have to trust everyone who works in your front office with a massive amount of secrecy, and so that's the part where, if you don't trust this person, how can you hire him? And I mean, that's a question we'll find out, I guess, once the whole investigation shakes out. I just, even if the wife was somehow involved on her own,
I don't
how
think
would
she
she
was.
be able to get some of this information?
Right.
Well, I one of the tweets that sort of, I guess, hints that his wife may have been involved to some capacity is that she apparently dresses him, and she's an Italian woman, so she loves like these big collars, and he was getting made fun of for his big collars, and there's tweets that are like defending him, defending the big collars.
Big collars. Well, that may just be him again.
That's vain.
Lack of self-confidence.
that's
I love this story so much.
It is.
I love
it's
it.
very laughable, and I'm happy.
I can't imagine.
I'm not happy.
A
Something like
grown-ass
this.
man letting his wife dress him every single
A
day.
grown man with 5 different Twitter
Right.
accounts because so low self-esteem that he has to defend himself on a variety of platforms.
But I wonder who the whistleblower is.
There's a rumor that it could be the former GM, Sam Hinkie, because Hinkie is responsible for the phrase, trust the process,
Right.
and they're admittedly openly tanking in order to get high draft picks. And then when those high draft picks start to work out, then he was unfortunately fired. And then it's 2 years now, I think, on the job for Bryan Colangelo. So now that the 76ers made the playoffs this past season, and so a lot of that success is being given to Hinkie instead of Colangelo. And so they also looked at the data as far as like Colangelo getting heat and the increase of the amount of tweets from these 5 different accounts during that time process of when he's getting a lot of heat in the press, which is crazy. I love it.
So you say trust the process. I like that phrase much better than what the Bills are trying to do. Did you see what the Buffalo Bills? They're filing to have trademark respect the process.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm sorry, but if anybody wants to tell you to respect the process, that's me going, just believe, you don't complain about what we're doing. You need to respect what we're doing.
You know
here.
what,
I can't respect that.
It's only crappy teams that have these kind of slogans.
Right, respect the process. No.
Well, from one embarrassing situation to another, J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith, what were you doing? After rebounding a missed free throw that would have put the Cavs up by 1 at the end of game 1, Cavs guard J.R. Smith misjudged how much time was left and the score, causing the game to go into overtime where they would eventually lose to the Warriors. It was probably this mistake could arguably transform the NBA, depending on the Cavs might get swept after this loss. And
I don't know that could transform the NBA.
Well, depending on where LeBron
goes.
goes.
They're still going to lose, even if they took game 1. I still think they were going to lose.
See, I think the way that they lost, because there's been some footage that surfaced a couple days ago, and it's the uncut version of what happened immediately after the JR fumble. And all the players go to the bench, and JR and LeBron are sitting a couple seats away from each other, and LeBron is obviously frustrated. And
As
then
he should be.
Yeah, and then he finds out that they had 1 timeout left. And then that falls on the coaching staff, in my opinion.
LeBron was trying to call timeout.
Mm-hmm.
Well, JR had the ball.
Yep.
He saw, if you watch the video, he looks on the scoreboard and he says, we had a timeout left. And when he realizes it, that's when he just puts his head in his hand, and immediately he's frustrated because Tyronn Lue should have called it. If miss free throw, and then you see one of your players that's confused, and you got a few seconds left, immediately call a timeout. Immediately, because your team is scrambling. And so for LeBron to see that level of frustration that he has to do everything, not just shoot the game-winning shot, but then also take care of coaching as well, is just one of those monumental mistakes that I don't know that you can come back from. But if you're a teammate of the Cavs, and immediately after that moment, there's been a little bit of criticism from the media, especially from other sports, that the Cavs teammates should have went over and consoled J.R. Smith, and that would have helped them in overtime.
Well, I don't think they're really a team. And for that aspect, I mean, that collectively, they don't seem united. It seems like LeBron's in his own world, which, as he should be, because he's so much better than him. But they got thrown into this mess after he wanted everybody gone, what it seems like to me. But they don't seem cohesively as a nice little mixture, not like, you know, the idiots of the Red Sox and other teams like that. But it's if you're JR, you just got to come right out right after that game and be like, that sucked, and that is all on me.
Yeah.
All on me.
But before the game was over, the point's being made that before they went into overtime, then that's when they needed to come together as a team, because they still had more time to play. And obviously they had a poor showing in that overtime. But I don't think that them talking to JR would have really changed anything. I think at that point they were gassed. They knew they were one free throw away from potentially winning and stealing a game on the road. And I think all of a sudden in that break in the overtime, they realized that the series is already potentially over. And therefore, I really don't think any sort of consoling JR was really going to change anything. JR's not very good either, so maybe if he was a better player, then I would think that the teammates needed to rally around him, but I don't think he was really going to help them that much.
I do think that the players should have said something to him, like pat him on the back, get him next time, something. When a quarterback makes throws an interception, or a baseball player has a bad player or something, you see the guys go over, even in hockey too, they'll pat each other on the back, they'll say get him next time, they'll show some kind of support. Nobody was talking to JR.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't seem like that team. They don't seem like they all will go out to dinner, together. It doesn't seem like that type of atmosphere for that. Well, but I will say, I don't think they'll get swept for the fact of they were down 0-2 to the Celtics, and they came all the way back to win.
And they were down 3-1 a couple years back, infamously.
Warriors, you know what I mean? Like they
needed that game one. They needed it.
This crap team that has shown up is not the team that played against Boston.
That's going to haunt them, and I think that JR's misjudgment could have the potential for the Cavs to get swept and LeBron to leave Cleveland.
I mean, there's only so many times LeBron can give you 50 points. Jeez,
there's only so many times he can friggin' leave Cleveland. Just
I know, right?
I would leave if I'm him.
Leaves. I just want that part of the conversation. I enjoy the series so far. Well, game 2 was.
It has been a really good. I mean, not necessarily game 2, but game 1 was one of the best basketball games I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Well, when was the last time you watched a basketball game?
Honey, I watch. I do watch
you never
playoffs.
Watch basketball.
I don't watch college basketball unless it's Louisville, Kentucky. But NBA playoffs, I watch it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I thought you said you only watch the highlights.
I watch the highlights of golf.
No.
Either way, I think going back
and
to
baseball.
JR, if it goes back to the old adage, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. And I think that's why they couldn't necessarily speak to him at that moment, because they didn't have anything nice to say.
Well, I would have choked him if I was LeBron. Oh, and you could tell he wanted to.
I was impressed with how he handled that.
Especially his coach, too. His coach should have called the timeout.
I loved that LeBron didn't know that his reaction had become this internet sensation. Well, of course it had.
It's awesome.
Some of those videos are really funny. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk with Ashlyn Sullivan, Jaguars.com digital reporter and host, and do a dose of Daly's Place, as well as give away tonight's Peterbrook Chocolate Heel. That's all next. You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dream Finders Homes on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Yeah, that is fantastic. It's always. I like that the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office used it.
Did they?
Yeah. When they do their 9 p.m. routine, they go, when you leave your vehicle unlocked and you leave your iPad on the seat. I'm like, that's great. Good on you guys. They're fun. Their little Twitter 9 p.m. thing is fun.
Yeah, they whoever runs their social does a really good job.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's enjoyable. Did you see came out with a trailer for Lego Movie 2?
No.
Clip.
Y'all been watching Stanley Cup Finals?
No.
No?
I don't watch the Stanley Cup Finals unless it's the Bruins. That's not something I can get
Hello.
into.
See,
Hi.
I love the finals. Usually of any major sport, I watch every second of. And I really want Obi to get Stanley Cup.
I've been watching a lot of Sox.
Baseball. See, I'll start watching baseball after the All-Star break. Usually the All-Star break is when I do watch, but they have been so good. But I just wonder if they can keep it up.
Yeah, this team's a lot of fun to watch. Watching Cora manage is a lot of fun. Sometimes you're like, what? But he makes very few mistakes, unlike Farrell, who made like 1,000 mistakes.
Y'all, stupid Trump and his rescinding the Eagles invite for the Super Bowl. You see, they had the fans.
Yeah.
The fans that quote unquote fans that showed up.
Yeah, I saw the one reporter say that he asked fans in the White House about it.
There was one
like,
reporter.
I don't believe that at all. I'm sorry.
He asked 6 people wearing Eagles shirts who the quarterback was in the Super Bowl, and none of them knew.
I don't believe it. I believe that as much as when people do Jeopardy and they don't get the sports questions.
See, I believe it because I think that they probably paid somebody
That's
to,
what I'm
hey,
saying.
wear
I don't
this
believe
shirt.
that they're really fans.
Right.
Yeah. I don't believe any of it.
Here's a shirt, throw it on so we can prove that
Right.
quote unquote patriotic Eagles fans are here.
We celebrated.
Yeah, I've been
Why are people sending me pictures of food tonight? Just because I normally take pictures of food. I get it, but...
Is it because I'm eating spaghetti? I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's not. No. My cousin had Mexican, so she sent me a picture of her food earlier, and she's like, doesn't it look so good? And I was like, it does. Also,
Why are you
it's
sending
Tuesday,
it?
so I don't get my normal dinner. So, and then my other friend just sent me her food. Tyler, you have her number, right?
Fall guy.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Make your wife your fall guy. Not a bad idea. You gotta protect the money. Like
What if-
Kanye says.
What if the whistleblower is his mistress?
He has a mistress?
I don't know. Won't that be a nice twist?
I do wonder who it is.
Next on Young and the Restless.
Yeah, but we're never gonna know if the reporter does his job properly. You'll never.
He
know
won't give up the source.
Well, he said it was an anonymous account that hit him up. So it was like one of those egg profiles, and the only person he had followed was him, and he had been hitting him up for months.
But that's like, even if obviously he can maybe at some point figure out who it is, but we'll never know.
Yeah. It was so much fun watching it live too, because you had the Drake Pusha T controversy that was going on
From MJD.
right
Okay,
before,
thanks.
Brian
and then that news
Nice.
dropped.
Sounds good.
One of the best Twitter nights in a long time. I can remember.
I mean, it was funny.
I have absolutely no idea what is going on with Drake and Pusha T.
Rap battle.
Yeah, that's what I said when I first heard about it, and then I was like, I don't
I know
care.
who Drake is, but who's the second person?
Pusha T, another
Rapper.
rapper.
Is that a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
That's a boy?
Pusha T, yeah.
That sounds like a girl's name.
Reminds me
I
of
don't know. I
what's
don't
that
know.
one song?
I don't-
Push it real good.
Right?
That's song pepper.
I know nothing.
You
I
know
dream about
nothing,
Robert
Jon
Redford.
Snow.
What do I know?
I had a dream last night that I was in a purge type situation.
Ooh.
That people were trying to, it was a mansion that I was in, and people were trying to break in, and you had to arm yourself.
Yeah, I
to
have
defend your
no
house.
desire to see that movie.
I don't either. But
Mm-mm.
Well,
shit was
I was
scary.
like, is Purge a movie?
It's called The Purge.
Okay.
Where
And
it's
then
like
there's another
what
one
is a
coming
purge
out. The
situation?
first
crime
Purge.
is legal for like 24
20,
hours,
yeah.
so people have these elaborate security systems on their house because anybody can rob somebody, they can murder anybody they want.
All right.
Oh yeah. No desire to see that.
I get nightmares easily.
Jaguars football by women, for women, and men. helmets and heels. Built by Dreamfinders Homes.
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
On 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
When you look at this team, even though it's OTAs, do you see a team that's good and knows it?
I think more than anything, when I like just going to different OTAs, it's about the mental errors. It's about seeing penalties, bad penalties like false starts and things like that. And you don't see that with this team. And you see a lot of confident guys walk around. And I think, they're sharpening their tools. And that's what's exciting about this team is that they know where they went to and they weren't satisfied, but they're coming back with that springboard type of mentality. Like, okay, we can kind of add on to what we did last year and go forward.
That was Jaguars.com senior correspondent Brian Sexton interviewing former Jaguars running back, now on the NFL Network, Maurice Jones-Drew, who was out at OTAs yesterday with two of his boys. They were having a good old time.
I want to change my question earlier. I said I would ask Jalen Ramsey anything. I would ask a former player, it's someone recent, like MJD. How would you feel about being on this team today?
I like it.
Rather, as opposed to winning 3 games a year.
I bet he would really like it.
That's what I would want to know. Like, how would you feel? Would you be walking around like Ramsey? Like, how would it be?
Well, MJD was pretty,
he was
swaggeristic
right.
when he was here too. So yeah, I'm sure he would love that. As we welcome now in Ashlyn Sullivan, Jaguars.com digital reporter and host. Hello, Ashlyn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are great, thanks. You got to talk to MJD a little bit yesterday. That was probably the first time that you met him. How did that conversation go?
I did, yeah. He actually, throughout the season, came twice during the season to come on one of our shows. So I've known him fairly well now. I got to sit for the first time, but it was great seeing him. He was in town for NFL Network feature with Calvin Smith that he shot today. So it's always good to see him. It's always great to see how he greets the entire team, not just the football players, but the equipment staff and scouts. And he just is a guy that's so well known throughout the entire stadium.
Absolutely. I forget that sometimes he comes back. I just think of him as, West Coast guy now. But
right.
let's get it to absolutely. Let's get it to a dose of Daily Place to kick things off. Let's talk about June. What is going on with Tedeschi Trucks?
Yeah, it seems like it's been a while that there's been a concert at Daily Place, but we'll have 3 in a row at the end of June. And I actually just found out the other day I was watching first and I was asking for the PR staff, and I just didn't realize that Tedeschi Trucks fans is actually from Jacksonville residents. Season ticket holders for the Jaguars, huge Jag fans, so I know they were the ones that kicked off Daily Place a year ago. They were the first concert at Daily Place, so I know it means a lot to them to come full circle a year later and performing yet again at Daily Place, especially after a successful Jaguars season. I know they're pretty excited to get down there.
Yeah, Derek Trucks I know comes on with Rick Ballou and Midday Chocolate quite often, so yeah, big fans. Now you had 2 big announcements last week, though.
We did, yeah. I kind of teased them a little bit, but they were really excited to announce that the balloon tour with Troy Simeon was announced. I know he is barely getting pretty big pretty quickly. He was just on the stage the other day, actually. I was watching him. And then a country concert, which we know is pretty successful at Daily Place, Dirk Bentley, Brothers Osborne, and Lanco on September 13th. I know, Lauren, we were just talking about Brothers Osborne the other day.
We sure were, because as soon as I heard that concert announcement, I made sure that I got some tickets to it, and now I can't wait.
Good for you.
Absolutely.
Ashley, you guys have a little bit of a break until concerts in late June, but you guys have a couple announcements that should be coming soon?
Yeah, there'll be a few more shows that I know they're trying to really book football season and get a lot of fans attracted to Saturday night before home games and really get the buzz going for the entire weekend and not make it just about a Sunday game, but make it Everbank Field, or not TIA Bank Field, a place that they want to be the entire weekend, not just on Sunday. So I know that's been the driving force in trying to make it a whole weekend movement instead of just paint day.
Absolutely. And the big bands that were announced to join the Labor Day show, Charlie Daniels Band, Marshall Tucker, and also Blackberry Smoke, which is another country band. How have those been received? How are tickets going for that show?
It's going great. I mean, I know that people were really excited for the headliners, but now I know everyone's stressed that it was going to be an all-weekend festival, so obviously we're going to have to add more bands. Now that they're doing so, I feel like people are getting way more bang for their buck with that, and that they're spending the entire weekend not just coming for the one show. I mean, and that is like the most Southern rock you could ever get. If you're a Southern rock fan, you have to come to that, because that is every band that I could think of Southern rock-wise.
Let's get into a little bit of Jaguars talk. Have you noticed any differences between the team in OTAs last week versus this week?
I've noticed that it seems that everyone is much more concise this week. Not that they weren't last week, but I've noticed a difference just in the organization of the team itself and how quick these OTAs are moving through. I guess it's just because we're now on to the 9th OTA, but it seems like everyone knows exactly where to go and exactly what to do, and there's no wasting time, there's no walking. It's just a very quick, concise OTA. And I know I was talking to guys who were there last year who said that's not really how it was last year. There were times where people were confused and it was unorganized, and I've seen nothing of that this year.
Ashlyn, you caught up with tight end Austin Seferian-Jenkins today. I think he's looked fantastic at OTAs thus far. How is he doing so far in your mind?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's really meshing well with the team and teams, and I know he's always been a huge target for Blake Bortles so far at OTAs, but he just is such a big guy, such a big target. It seems like if the ball is anywhere relatively close to it, he's going to come down with it, which is, I know exactly what they wanted to get out of him, but he's also just a really cool, relaxed guy. We were talking off the field today, we were talking about Call of Duty. I guess he's like really big into video games. He was saying that at the end of practice, all of the tight end group gets on Call of Duty and plays each other and talks to each other about practice, and that's how they bond, is through this video game. And I had no idea that happened. He was hyping up Ben Koyak and said he's the best gamer on the entire team. So I learned a lot about that today.
Well, don't let them get on Fortnite, because apparently you get no sleep with that one. So.
Oh yeah, they don't have time for that.
Keep everybody off of there. I know last week when we last spoke, we asked you about if it bothers you that Jalen Ramsey wasn't there for OTAs, but apparently, come to find out, neither, except for one day, neither has LeGarrette Blunt, or sorry,
Oh.
don't even
Wrong
Leonard
team,
Fournette.
Donna.
I know, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Leonard Fournette hasn't been there. Does that bother you at all?
It doesn't. No, I mean, I know that we've talked about it before, and it's been such a major storyline this entire OT for almost every team, but it's really, I'm starting to notice, I mean, people are out there with rosters and they're checking off who's not there, but I think the major storyline that we should really be focusing on is who is there. I mean, you have the entire starting defensive line with Calais Campbell and Malik Jackson, Marcel Darius. They've been there since day one coaching up these guys, and I think it says a lot about this defense and this offense that they're only missing two guys this entire OTA, and I feel like that's not a talked about story when it should be. Almost this entire team is here, and guys like Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson don't necessarily need to be there, but they most definitely are. They've been there the entire OTA, and I was watching today, Calais Campbell was coaching up the third-string defensive linemen and taking it upon himself to make sure that they were ready, and they're third string, and it was incredible to me that it's almost OTA 9 now, and he's taking it that seriously.
Ashlyn, who's your favorite, or who has been your favorite person to interview so far?
Favorite person to interview? Calais Campbell's always great because he's always just so willing to talk to you, but I think so far this OTA was Will Richardson, the new offensive lineman. He was just so pleasant to be around. You could just tell how happy he was to be part of this team. He just gave off a pleasant atmosphere, and I learned a lot about him from our off-the-field interviews. He was really cool to talk to, so I think so far he's my favorite interview.
And finally, when it comes to the wide receivers coach Keenan McCardell spoke today before practice. He said it's actually a good thing that the Jaguars don't have a number one wide receiver, a true number one. Do you agree with him?
I do. He made the joke that, of course, if Antonio Brown was on the team, it wouldn't be a terrible thing. But I think when you do have a bunch of options like the Jaguars do at wide receiver, it's great that a defense can't possibly take away one of those guys. I mean, it's great that Blake Bortles has so many options, and there's so many guys, especially at slot receiver, there's so many options that Blake Bortles can throw to. I think if I'm an opposing defense, it's really hard for me to figure out who they're throwing to. So I know Keenan McCardell would probably love to have a number one. It wouldn't be an option thing, but he's definitely not upset that that's not an option for this team right now.
Certainly. We hope that the ball gets spread around a lot and everybody's pulling in numbers like a number one wide receiver. All right, Ashlyn, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Of course, guys, not a problem.
All right, we will talk to you next week and get more of those announcements coming down the pipeline from Daly's Place.
Sounds good. Will do.
All right. I am so excited about the fact that Brothers Osborne is coming. I know the headliner's Dirk Bentley, and that'll be great. But I have been wanting to see
Song's
Brothers
ready.
Osborne for a very long time. I tried to see them. Well, one time I didn't know they were coming to Jacksonville, and they were coming to World of Beer, which is no longer even open.
Oh, wow.
And I had just gotten to my grandfather's house. You know, I go there every single Wednesday. That's where I got my spaghetti last week, as a matter of fact. So I arrived at his house, and then I heard on the radio that they had just arrived to World of Beer, and they'd be playing for like an hour or so. And so I had the option, of course, of being like, hey, Opa, I'm not going to stay for dinner. I'm going to see a concert. But, of course, I didn't do that. But I have yet to see them in concert. That was a few years ago, so now I cannot wait. They're coming, and I have my tickets for Daly's Place. Speaking of artists coming to Daly's Place, Tyler, take it away.
I'm getting drunk on a plane.
Excellent choice. If you want to win tonight's Peterbrook Chocolate Heel, text into the 1010XL text line driven by Duval Ford. That would be 641-1010. Name either the artist or the name of the song, and you are tonight's winner. Remember, don't call. Text into the 1010XL text line driven by Duval Ford. And again, you will win tonight's Peterbrook Chocolate Heel. All right, when we come back, we are going to get it to a little Serena and college baseball and softball. By the way, if you're a Seminoles fan, your team is now down 1-0. Washington has taken an early lead in the top of the first, and there is a runner on second. So Noles are down. Noles are just a win away from the national championship, but so far Washington up and threatening. You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dream Finders Homes on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Oh, they're falling apart.
That was a disaster.
After last night's excellent defensive Sports Center top 10 play, they've made 2 errors. Oof.
That was a disaster.
That was real bad. And considering I'm cheering for Washington, I am not upset about it.
Almost as big of a disaster as saying LeGarrette Blount. Where did that come from?
You're watching the Patriots.
But he's not even with the Patriots
But he used to.
anymore.
I think
Why
he
would
used
I say
to play for the Patriots.
Leonard Fournette
gosh.
kind of has the LeGarrette kind of has the
There's no. Can I blame
Pregnancy
Prego Brain?
brain? Yes.
Prego Brain. Sorry.
yes, you can, because I've had people blame far simpler stuff
Or
on
blonde.
pregnancy
I don't
brain.
care. Either one. Choose one.
Pregnancy brain works. Thank you, Tyler.
Like Garrett.
I bet that one was gotten easily.
Yeah, of course we already have one guy following.
Yeah, after I say don't.
Don't call. Text. Hey Tyler.
What's up?
Wasn't Prosser's golfer DeChambeau?
Yes.
For this week, yes.
Nice.
Yes, he's making us some ground. He was in last for like the entire
Right.
season so far.
I was so happy for him until it went to extras. I was like, oh, if he gets all the way to here and loses, he's going to be so mad.
Tyler, I didn't hear Brunch with the Tour last week, and so I almost texted you like, who you got this week? I need to know your choices because you've been red hot. I ended up picking Justin Thomas on my own.
Oh, he didn't finish too bad.
No, he finished tied for 8th.
Yeah.
I won some money. I'm no longer in the $1 million range. I'm in the $2 million range.
Nice. Wouldn't it be nice if that was real?
Yeah, that would be beyond nice. Oh, they finally made a catch, and that's a run. That's 2-0. Here we go, purple.
I mean, I'm sorry, NFL Network. Do you really have to put on there the bullet point of why they were going to visit? If we're watching NFL Network, we know why they're visiting, right?
I mean, this is, yeah, it's dumb, but at the same time, they're probably trying to keep it to sports only. So that's why their bullet point has nothing to do with why
Kneeling.
the visit was canceled. It was just canceled. They were supposed to visit, and we're out.
I'm like, hello. Common sense here.
Oh, and it's 3-0.
Ooh. And it's only the top of the first, right?
Yeah,
Yikes.
she does have 2 outs, but
That pitcher's not having a fun outing.
no, she's not. She was last night's pitcher though, so she had a shutout last night.
How can that work in, like, college? Can't work in the majors.
Well, softball pitchers pitch differently than baseball pitchers. So
Right.
a softball pitcher can pitch twice in one
Doesn't
day
matter.
if she needs to. No, it doesn't matter. She still needs somewhat of a pitch count, but it's not like once you
Right.
get a softball pitcher's arm warm, it's not the end of the world if it
Did
gets
she pitch a
cold
whole
in.
game?
Last week
yesterday?
she did pitch the whole game. Yeah.
Less innings too. It's like 6 or 7 innings. So
7.
Wouldn't you rather save her to like pitch the second half, like the 5, 6, 7?
Well, I mean, she pitched all game last night, so you'd think she could do it again.
Man, that was gonna be a good twirl. It was all nice and neat. That's what I don't do the Italian way. I don't sit here and twirl. I meant to cut it up.
Oh, see, I like the twirling. But I also like to eat, if I'm going to twirl, I want to eat in private so I can be as sloppy as I want.
Not like this where I'm just showing everybody how I eat.
That's correct. 100%.
Because I don't care.
Chop mine. Knife, fork, chop it up.
I do, and I always feel like I need to say sorry when I do it. I always apologize.
To the noodles?
Well, to like any Italian that sees me eating like this way.
Okay.
I'm so
I didn't
sorry.
know you meant to the noodles.
Really?
Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because it's so against,
how they do it. I love to twirl. Plus, it's like something fun to do. I got out.
You play with your food?
Only starting 3. Just play with your food? No, like, I like eating like that. It's part of the reason I love pasta.
Alright, back here in 20.
Well,
Bye, y'all.
take a break.
You had 20 more seconds to twirl.
Yeah, because I'll probably mess it up. Too much pressure. This? Do you use Chewy?
What?
Do you use Chewy.com?
Oh, no.
I like them.
Yeah?
Why do they put a doorbell in their commercials?
You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Quick update on college softball. Florida State is now down 3-0 to Washington, headed to the bottom of the first. That is the second game of the Women's College World Series Championship Finals. If Florida State wins tonight, they win their first ever national championship in college softball. If Florida State loses tonight, then game 3 will be tomorrow. Getting it to college baseball, Florida's starting pitcher against FAU in the NCAA Regional last night, that game was for a berth to the Super Regionals, which happens this weekend. Jackson Coar
10-10.
was slated to be drafted in the early rounds of the Major League Baseball draft. He ended up getting picked 33rd overall. But he was selected as he was pitching.
Thanks for listening.
Which, going into last night's game, so the game started at 5:45, the draft was at 7. In thinking about how his emotions must be, A, he's starting a game that determines how far this team is going to go in the postseason. B, this is the biggest night of his life. So it led me to wonder, what is the most nervous you've ever been professionally? And then how did said event go once it was all said and done with?
I would have to say it wasn't really professionally, but it was with dance.
That counts.
So I can still consider
you
that.
were paid.
Well, this wasn't when I was getting paid. This was back in high school, but that was the most nervous I've been. It was for Miss Spruce Creek. I was very nervous because that's different. That's a pageantry. You got to walk. Then you got to dance, and you got to walk again. There's a lot. There's a lot involved in that. I'm never really nervous when it comes to this. I was never really nervous for anything else. For Sesame Street, I was in a costume. No one saw me, so there was no need to be nervous for that one. But yeah, that was probably the most nervous I've ever been.
And how did it go?
Well, it went well. Went in my favor, so it worked out well. Yeah.
Excellent. Live?
I think anytime you do something live in front of other people, it's super nerve-wracking for me. So the first time I ever did public speaking in high school after a post 9/11 event, we had a charitable fundraiser. I had to speak in front of my whole high school. That was incredibly nerve-wracking because I never planned on doing something like that. The first time I was ever on radio, Melissa Ross, local First Coast Connect, she had me on her show, and my hands were shaking so bad that I had to hold my water bottle, and in the middle of the interview, I noticed her noticing my hands shaking, and that just made me even more nervous. And then the first time I ever co-hosted a TV show, and on the chat, who is RIP, no longer on airwaves anymore, but I just remember the lights kind of gotcha, but they blocked everybody else out in the background. So I think that was that helped a ton. So definitely the first time I do live in front of other people, anything, I'm super nervous. I can't, even public speaking in particular. Every time I do public speaking, I swear to myself the night before, I'm so stressed out. I'm like, I'm never doing this again. I don't know why I signed up. Still to this day, I will get too stressed out. But then I do it, and I enjoy it, and I kill it, and everything's fine, and I feel great afterwards. But the night before, it's always like, why do you agree to this stuff? You should just say no. You do this to yourself every time, and it ends up working out.
It is easy, I think, to stress out over something you've never done before, because you don't know if something goes wrong, how the other people are going to react. And I mean, especially the first time I ever had to do any sort of TV work, I don't love the camera, and so it to me, the radio is far easier, even though I was extremely nervous the first time I was ever on radio for more than just a couple minutes. But the television camera just adds this like judgment. I feel like it's judging me the whole time instead of like being my friend. Like I feel like the microphone's my friend, but the camera I always feel like is like staring at you and like waiting for you to mess up almost. I was so nervous before we did the NFL draft previews on players, and no teleprompter, you're just speaking off the cuff, and I was prepared and everything, and I was so nervous. So luckily Marcel Robinson was the camera guy, so everything was relaxed with him, but still so incredibly freaked out, even though I can literally have a conversation with you guys about how much I love Will Hernandez, the right guard out of UTEP, and I thought he was a mauling guard, and I thought he was going to be a great guy, and I thought the Jaguars might take him, and I thought the Jaguars should take him. I can have that whole conversation on radio, but the moment there's a camera there, I feel this just increased amount of stress level. And then eventually I think you just get used to that, and it kind of fades in the background. And doing some stuff with 1010XL tonight, you try to relax, but I still think there are things that maybe I'll just never fully get used to until I do them 1,000 times, and then eventually I will relax.
I really thought you were going to say producing Dempsey's show when we had to do the media mock draft. Because Tyler's here. Tyler knows about the media mock draft. I know about the media mock draft.
Yeah, but you helped with that.
That's a stressful time, especially.
That's why I wasn't stressed, because you were there.
Yeah.
So if you hadn't been there, coordinating, what was it? How many people did we do on Jaguars today? Like 30 something? It's only 16, because it's 32.
Yeah, see, I did 32.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, now it's split
show,
up.
3 hours, 32 guests is a ton.
32 guests. You got to make sure that they all answer, and then you got to keep up with who's picking who. Because then when you get the next guest on, you got to be like, nope, sorry, your guy's gone. Pick somebody else. It's that's a tough show.
Yeah,
it is the most fun show to listen to. Mike doesn't do any other show better than that one, I think. But as a producer, that's stressful. I will say that.
Yeah. Well, and being nervous as a producer was a constant for me. My hands were always sweating, because I was not raised in that technical world, and so I have no background in managing all of the audio and things like that. But no one could see me stressing.
Right.
So that's why it was a little bit different. Like when you're on camera, like whether you were saying your hands were shaking when someone's looking at you, Melissa was looking at you, that's where I feel like the camera does know that I'm nervous. And I don't know why. It's an inanimate object, yet I feel like it can pick up every emotional level. But I really do think just eventually, repetition, you start to just relax and then realize that the camera's your friend. It's not there to judge you. It doesn't have any emotions. It's just there to project your image. By the way, quick funny story. So I told y'all in our email rundown that I had to go buy a new Brita water pitcher the other day, right? So I start to tell that story to the guys yesterday, and I mentioned how Steph Curry was on the packaging, and all three of them were giving me blank stares. And I was like, what part of this are you not understanding?
Do you not know who Steph Curry is? Is that what we're going to know?
None of the three of them knew what a Brita water pitcher is.
Really?
And I went home and I told Brandon, I was like, is it me? Like, I thought everyone in the world knew what like a Brita filter water pitcher is.
The pitcher in the fridge or the thing on the sink. That's what I have. I have the thing on the sink.
You can certainly choose, which way to do it.
Tyler?
Do you know what a Brita is?
I know what a Brita, yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. So I feel better generation. Now, but none of them had any idea what a Brita filter is.
They still buy the bottled water.
Yeah.
Well, I
for sure,
do,
or get it out the fridge or something.
there are now systems that you can, put
Well, your
in
fridge
your house.
is
and
automatically,
your fridge,
right.
yeah. But yeah, I think it's a great way to, make sure that you're not using too much plastic with water bottles, and certainly you can refill water bottles and all that.
Oh, did
but
you hear about that poor whale?
Yeah.
That he kept eating plastic bags and he thought he was full, and so he ended up dying.
No.
They found 80 plastic bags. Yeah. So people, make
Stop
sure your
using
plastic bags and
as much as
I
possible.
tie them in a knot.
in the right spot. By the way, FSU now it's 3-2 Washington.
Ooh.
FSU just hit, I
That
think, a
changed fast.
2-run bomb. But the whole point of the conversation about the Brita was about Steph Curry. I just have to tell you all the side story from yesterday. But have you ever been influenced because an athlete or a
Heck
famous
yeah.
person was on a product?
Heck yeah. You know how many times we buy Under Armour? Because of Tom Brady? Yeah. He owns a lot of stock in
Every
it,
show.
so all we're doing
Every
is just
show.
donating.
Gotta hit that
Giving-
quota.
Okay, I'm sorry. Because Jordan Spieth is Under
you
Armour,
go. There you
But
go.
TJ
Or
wears
Curry.
TJ will wear a lot of Nike gear golfing because of Tiger. So yeah, we'll do that, some of that stuff, but I'll also turn it, and if I see a team that I don't like use something, I'm like, I'm not using that. Yeah.
Athletes don't really do it for me like that. Either pro or con, it doesn't really affect me whatsoever. The only thing that I will say that influences my purchases is like if I'm listening to a podcast, like fellow entrepreneurs, if they're reading a certain book or if they're using certain software, then I will go and buy it. I'll look into that and buy it. But not really with athletes. I tried to think of something and I couldn't think of anything.
Well, recently, yeah, there you go.
Bologna. Yes.
Baloney.
Yes, I've started buying a ton of bologna because Doug Marone was talking about it all the time. I was like, man, I haven't had bologna in a long time. So I started buying the old package, like the Oscar Mayer packages, little cheap bologna that I used to eat back in the day. But I have bought, no lie, like six, maybe 10 in between there tubs of bologna, and I can crush it in a couple days.
It would be fun to see what the bologna sales have been in the past year,
especially in like the Jacksonville market.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
But not because of Doug Marone, if that makes sense. I started hearing more about it, so it makes me crave it.
Well, and he's not
eating more bologna than anybody else.
and he's not necessarily endorsing, that specific type. But the other day I read that Jaguars first-round draft pick Taven Bryan has discovered Taverna in San Marco, and that's his favorite restaurant. And not that he's endorsing that either, but it made me think, oh, well, I've never been there. That's a place I want to go.
Right.
So I can get influenced, I think, by either people's recommendations or endorsing of certain things. But, like, I was trying to think of something that we would all buy. Like, if Serena Williams started to advertise or endorse a makeup product, would that make you guys think more, like if it was a sweat-proof makeup product, would that make you think about buying it?
Rihanna influences my purchases. I will buy Rihanna's makeup, Fenty, because
do you buy the Kylie Jenner makeup stuff?
No, but I do have one of her
that's like
liquid
huge
lipsticks.
Apparently right now.
Yeah, I don't particularly like it. It's not my favorite makeup company. I have other
Tyler?
Oh, well, Kylie Jenner, because she's making like a ton of money off this.
A lot of money.
Like over tens of millions of dollars.
To the point where now her sisters are coming out. Her sisters are now coming out with their own makeup lines.
I don't get it.
Just because Kylie has been so successful with it.
See, now that's a family that whatever they use, I will use the exact opposite.
No. Their makeup is on point. I'm not a Kylie Jenner fan. I'm much more of a Courtney and Kim fan. So anything that they use, that they wear, I do like.
Everything's on point because everything is made.
Yeah.
For them. They don't. Do you honestly think they sit there and do their own makeup and hair every day?
Kim K has videos out that's doing her own makeup. I mean, she can afford like the best makeup artist on the planet, and when she goes to shoots, I mean, we've gotten our makeup done before.
Her cosmetics company, in 18 months, $420 million.
Holy cow!
Nope.
That's ridiculous.
Her
not
makeup
donating
is,
to that.
She's and even Kim K's style of makeup, the method on contouring and how to put it on, and it's not just for your face anymore. Like I've seen women in like Hollywood stars that they'll contour their legs and they'll contour their chest and abs. Like it's ridiculous.
And then they get out of the shower and they don't look like that anymore. By the way, I've been updating everyone on college softball. That's a sport that I absolutely will watch, even though Florida's not in the championship finals. I'm still watching it, and I still think the sport is fantastic to watch, and I understand it's not for everyone, but I do think ESPN does a great job of promoting the whole experience in Oklahoma City for the Women's College World Series. It's a sport I love. What is a sport that y'all love that most people do not?
Probably NASCAR. Although we did get the email that Jacksonville is top 10 in market in all of the country for NASCAR.
What?
Jacksonville, Florida. Yes.
So
number 10.
They're number 10?
Number 10. And I was surprised because I texted my family and I let them know. I go, guess who's not on this list? And my brother lives in West Virginia. I'm like, not one damn town in West Virginia. You know, I was like, look at us here in Jacksonville.
Right, because we have a much higher population than
still.
West Virginia.
Like, you know.
And a lot more access to televisions, maybe, than West Virginia.
I was proud. I'm like, that's pretty. I was surprised, but I'm like, hey, I must not be alone here in Jacksonville. Sure, they're not measuring just my TV.
Yeah, what about you, Blythe?
I would say we got into this a little bit last week on the Frangie Show, the last few minutes of it, but esports. That's something that I started watching about a year. I was a little skeptical at first.
Hold on, esports?
Esports.
So gaming.
Gaming, okay.
People watch
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So it's almost like a spectator sport. It definitely is a spectator sport now. But I was skeptical at first. I'm like, nah, this can't take over. Like, this is not real sports. But I went to a local event thrown by the company called GAM, Games, Art, and Music. I do a lot of cosplay work for them. But they held an event at the museum, had some video games, the Super Smash Brothers tournament on the planetarium screen. And they had an audience that was sitting there watching, and they were cheering like as teams won and teams lost, or guys won and guys lost. And it felt like I was watching a football game. Like, that was the kind of vibe that I got from the crowd. And since then, I started doing a little bit of research, and it's booming to the point where Staples Center, they had an event at Staples Center. It sold out in less than an hour. Wow. It's a $1 billion organization already. It draws in 100 to 180,000 viewers worldwide for weekly matches. League of Legends is one of the bigger ones. Overwatch is another one. It draws in 70 million viewers worldwide for these weekly matches.
See, I wouldn't say no to going and viewing that, but I think I would have to have a good amount of alcohol in my system.
Well,
definitely.
Do you think you'd ever watch this on TV?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's television deals already in the works for ESPN, TNT, TBS. There's also colleges offering scholarships for it.
Scholarships for gaming?
Yeah.
Scholarships for gaming.
So would you be more likely, we were talking earlier about sports you'll watch, sports you won't watch. Would you be more likely to watch an esports event or whatever they call that, the esports show? Competition, I guess that's a better word.
They get play-by-play too. They have color commentators too.
So that versus, let's say, a baseball game in the middle of the season.
I would never watch college baseball. It's just not my thing. Even Major League Baseball right now, I said during the break, I won't watch Major League Baseball games unless it's Red Sox Yankees, like a big rivalry game. I won't watch until after the All-Star break. It's just
so you'd be more likely to watch the esports than that.
Yeah,
okay,
I would be more likely to watch esports than a lot of real, quote unquote, real sports.
Yeah. All right, good to know. I can't, when I watch college softball, I can't believe people don't get into it. But I saw last night with the play that Jesse Warren made for FSU to get the double play towards the end of the game, Kobe Bryant was tweeting about it. I mean, it was on Sports Center Top 10, right? So I was like, hey, I appreciate that an athlete from a completely different sport who obviously has a very large following is able to recognize and appreciate it. But to each their own, certainly. Yeah. I can't imagine watching esports, but I feel like you should never knock it until you try it. Yeah. I love the chatter that comes out of those softball dugouts. People who have played baseball probably think it's silly, a bit ridiculous, but I think it's so much fun to.
I used to play softball and I just don't. If it was in the Olympics, I think I would watch it. But it's just college sports outside of football doesn't really do it for me.
All right, when we come back, Blythe wants to talk about her favorite Disney villain. That's coming up next to us in Helmets and Heels built by Dreamfinders Homes on 1010XL.
Sometimes life is a game.
I get super excited when I get to talk about Disney. Yeah, I'm going there this weekend too. Taking the boy there. His first Disney trip in like a decade.
Now with these, we're just we're doing animated. We're not going like now Disney is part of like Marvel.
Oh, no, animated. I did my favorite Disney villain and my favorite sports villain.
Okay. Say what?
Your favorite sports villain and your favorite Disney villain.
Favorite sports villain?
And Disney villain. Don't forget about the important one. You couldn't?
I don't think I even have
That kind of count. Animated. Oh yeah. I was thinking Hook, like the movie Hook. Okay. All right. But you never saw like Lion King or
Did you?
Aladdin?
Did you
There's all those villains in there.
Like from time to time, not often.
So I sent this to a couple.
Oh, Sid.
Yeah, Sid.
You kind of look like Sid, to
I
be
don't
honest.
do a lot, but I do stuff with QT.
Oh, okay.
And
I
so,
thought I was on yours.
Toy Story. Sid, the character, doesn't
Yeah.
kind of look like him.
Is it really hot in there? It's so hot in this room.
It's hotter in there.
you're
We
free
have
to
a
take this fan.
It's
Yeah, you can take this fan.
So they had the fish the other day. Did you go on Snapchat with the fish?
I've deleted Snapchat.
So I said it because JT did this most ridiculous thing. And
He
I'm like,
loves it.
Oh, he loves Snapchat
Kids
is so
love
great.
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I took this photo, which I thought was sweet because it says summer. You know.
Aww.
So I'm like, oh, hello, summer.
Ooh, I love those filters though. The way they make your face look so good.
Right? But this one, all right, you ready for this?
What?
That's what he did.
I don't know what he's saying.
Nothing.
He is now my favorite Disney villain.
I'm
That's
telling you.
animated.
I said it. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta keep that. And I sent it to Beef and Marcel, you know. I labeled it Psycho Fish, and Beef's like, oh hell, that's right. Lily titled. I'm like, I don't know what he's doing because you know him. He's a sweet kid. I'm like, what are you doing? Holy cow!
Did you see it? The Miss USA or Miss America? They're getting rid of swimsuit and gown competition.
Why gown? Well, I mean, I guess
They don't
you
want things to focus on looks, I guess.
I guess you never really go anywhere with a gown.
I don't know.
Why don't they have like a suit, like a business?
It's all gonna be personality driven now. Ain't nobody gonna watch. Nobody really watched it before, anyways.
I like Miss Congeniality. Can they be all like that? Can they be all like that movie?
Oh, and saw some pictures of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. They bought.
What was this? I saw something.
I laughed. They bought these the water guns in the shape of a penis, and they took them to the club with them, and were spraying people with them.
Like, how old are they?
I think it's funny.
That's so...
Down in Key West too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Of
I
course
thought
they
it was
are.
funny.
Cowboys down in the Key West? Of course they are.
No trouble down there.
No, none at all. That's so... I saw somebody say that, and I'm like, they didn't post a photo or nothing.
No,
or a link.
well, they
I'm like,
didn't post it. It was I saw it online.
Right. All I saw was the cat. I'm like, well,
Ezekiel
I
Elliott
don't know
has
what
it
you're
like
talking
tucked in his belt. He's walking around with
Pointing
it.
upwards.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not a story.
I think
wanna
he
click
has
on.
a great personality.
Oh, he's
I think
yeah.
him and Dak together, the stories they could tell.
Sox winning. That's good.
Who is Zelda Williams?
Robin Williams' daughter.
Zelda?
Yeah.
Like the video games?
He named her. He was such a big fan of the franchise. He named her after the franchise. It is one of the greatest video game franchises of all time.
That's unique.
My girlfriend, she named her dog Zelda. Calls her Zelly.
So she's the one who started all this?
Yeah.
About the Disney villains?
Her critique was so on point. Each one I was reading, I was like, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, good points. Oh my gosh.
Back here in 30.
Fave.
Oh, we still have to get to Serena.
Oh. Do you want to intro that first and then go to?
Sure, you want
Serena.
to intro Serena Donna? Before Blythe does. Oh, yeah, me too.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes.
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
On 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Welcome back to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes. On the backstretch, that's what we are doing. I say backstretch because why? Well, I'm apparently the lone NASCAR fan here in the building. That's how we
But you're not alone in Jacksonville.
I'm not alone in Jacksonville.
In
I'm not. Let's get to Serena Williams, as she did pull out of the French Open due to an injury as she was facing off against Maria Sharapova.
I wanted to see that too.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't watch the whole thing, but I wanted to see who won.
So, my issue with it comes because of the interview that came afterwards. You know, you sit there, you have a whole press conference, there's numerous media asking you questions, and we have been, I guess, taught, schooled on how to correctly ask a question when you're doing an interview. Just get straight to the question. That's the best way to do it. And this is clearly not at all a correct way. So I will go ahead and read. I don't know who asked this question.
Yeah, there's just the transcript that's out there.
Right. So I will go ahead and read the entire question, which is a full paragraph length. I have been waiting about 14 years to ask you this question. After the 2004 Wimbledon match with Maria, I had the opportunity to interview Donald Trump on his LA golf course, and he said that Maria's shoulders were incredibly alluring, and then he came up with this incredible analysis, that you were intimidated by her supermodel good looks. My question is, finally he gets to a question. Have you ever been intimidated by anyone on a tennis court, and what are your thoughts about that occurrence?
If I was Serena Williams, I would have asked him first and foremost, I would not have answered the question, but I would have asked him, are you looking for clickbait? Because I feel like anytime anyone mentions President Trump, certainly and then in this situation, Maria Sharapova's shoulders, that's what this person is looking for as soon as they publish their article or podcast or what have you. Then I would have asked him if he's intimidated by me, because as I assume it was a male. As Serena Williams, I'm probably way stronger than this cat, this journalist, so-called journalist. And I would have said, I can't believe you have the audacity to ask a question that's not really a question. You are honestly trying to stir up something that happened words that happened 14 years ago about someone who's now in the presidential office. And him referring to a woman's shoulders, and how on earth would I even find that intimidating? And then here's one thing it was smart that she didn't say. I've beat Maria Sharapova 19 out of 21 times, so if anyone's intimidated, it would be her. Serena was smart not to say those words.
Right.
I probably would have fired those back at him, but that would have made it sound like I was trying to get under Maria Sharapova's skin, and I wouldn't have been.
But then that gives the story of what the reporter wants.
But exactly that, yeah. So that's not what she said, and that was smart. She just said, I have no comment. But those are the things I would have wanted to say.
To me, when I first read that question, I said, that's a producer asking him to ask that question. And now I'm just assuming the gender here, that it was a male. Because who cares? But to take a step back, as far as like a reporter standpoint, there's a lot of pressure on reporters, and not to say that it's not right, it's not fair, but there is a lot of pressure on reporters nowadays in order to get traffic to their articles. And Maria Sharapova and Donald Trump do just that. That's why you hear, especially in the tennis world, that's why you hear so much about Sharapova. She hasn't really won anything of significance, except for she's won a few tournaments here and there, but largely it has been underwhelming as far as the expectations for her career. But Donald Trump gets clicks too, and he was trying to stir up some trouble in order to get clicks to his articles. And to me, it sort of said that it was a producer or maybe someone above him, seniority-wise, that wanted to ask this question in that way, and wanted to ask this question in a way that if he gave a little bit of a backstory, maybe he wouldn't catch so much heat.
Right, because I took the whole first half of that question is what I took heat with. You never throw your personal, whatever happened and however you got this, into a question that has nothing to do with the original question. Have you ever been intimidated by anyone on the tennis court? You're asking me this because you think Donald Trump thinks I'm intimidated by her? That's why you're asking me this? You know, I would never be like, so here's a story that happened to me.
Try to get clicks.
And so I want to know, has this ever happened to you? The only time I would ever ask that would probably be to golfer Jeff Clark about his epilepsy, as I have epilepsy. That's the only time I would ever probably bring that up. You know, I don't understand why this person felt the need to tell all of this Donald Trump, Maria Sharapova, her shoulders, you know, you're intimidated by her supermodel good looks.
When we're talking about simply the greatest female tennis player to ever play the sport, she's clearly not intimidated, A, by most tennis players,
Right.
and B, someone being attractive would certainly not intimidate her.
No, she's attractive herself.
Right,
Exactly.
absolutely. And a lot of tennis players, I think, are attractive because they're all in great shape. So one person's shoulders aren't going to be necessarily better looking than someone else's.
I would have loved to have heard her say, "Do you see me in my cat suit after I have had a baby? Let me see you in a cat suit after you've had a baby."
She does not
you
want
know?
to see that.
No.
All right, let's get to some other villains. This reporter was a villain. Glad you love Disney World.
Yes, I'm going there this weekend again because I'm an annual pass holder and I'm slightly obsessed, and it might be a problem. But we're going to talk about that another day because I want to talk about who your favorite villain in a Disney movie is and why.
I believe for me it's Scar.
Why Scar?
I love Scar in The Lion King just because I love...
He killed Mufasa.
I know, but I love who
Spoiler
he's
alert.
voiced by. It's all about the voice. For me, a Disney villain will get me for their musicality and how much I get into theirs. Like Ursula I never got into. Whatchamacallit for Aladdin.
Jafar.
Thank you, Jafar. But Scar...
He was creepy.
Scar and the hyenas, they had, you know...
I did like the hyenas.
They were so great, especially when you say Mufasa. You know, it was just, you remember those lines. If you remember a lot of the villain and the lines and the song you get into, then I think that is what speaks to you. Like Ursula Kim. And,
Really? Because she's my favorite
Yeah.
villain, I think. Besides Maleficent, just because I just like her aesthetic.
Now that movie though with Angelina,
I really liked
love.
the movie, the real life movie. They're making a second one.
I know.
By the way, side note.
Very excited.
What movie is that?
Maleficent 2.
Oh,
Maleficent.
they made a Maleficent itself movie.
Yeah, it's sort of like almost like a sympathy. Like
Okay.
you feel bad for Maleficent because she was like a former fairy, got her wings ripped off and betrayed, and that's what kind of
One
turned
of the
her
few
evil.
movies I actually like Angelina Jolie in.
Really, I love her so much.
So.
I've loved her for a long time though.
I don't like any of the villains, truth be told. I like the protagonists in all of these movies, and I haven't seen a Disney movie in quite a while, so from the adult perspective, I'm not going to recognize traits in some of these people that I value. So for me growing up, I hated Scar. Like you say Scar, I want to punch you in the face.
But that's
It still
I'm telling
hurts
you,
me.
it's the music. It's if I could sit there and I listen, I love the music. I'll put it on JT's playlist of songs because we think it's great.
He does have one of the best villain songs.
Yes,
I will give him that.
Be prepared. It's
Yes.
so much fun to listen to.
But I can't forgive him because
No.
think how much better Pride Rock would have been if Mufasa had lived.
Correct.
We'll have to discuss that another. My favorite villain though is Ursula, and I thought Zelda Williams, who is Robin Williams' daughter, named after the iconic franchise Zelda, Link, you know, all those different video games. But she went in on Twitter as far as like defending all of these different villains, and that's what brought this topic up because when she started talking about Ursula, like she was just hitting the nail on the head. Like you're talking about a woman who offered a business contract to Ariel, and Ariel freely signed it, and then when she enacts the rules of the contract, and then she's seen as the bad one, and she's already banished from the kingdom, from the underwater kingdom, and she's getting other people to sign their contracts, and she has, you know, little dead people that are living in the seaweeds all over the place. But she was very misunderstood, I think, as far as villains are concerned.
Well, and I mean, the way she's painted is to be a villain. That's why, you know, most people don't like them. But I did really like one point that Zelda made, and that was the fact that all of the Disney princesses, or, you know, the protagonists, they all have these unrealistic bodies that, you know, yes, they are cartoons.
Sure.
They are shaped to be very similar to Barbie, where the curvature of that woman's body is
Hourglass.
nothing like, right, a real woman's body. And so none of the villains represent unrealistic body shapes, and that's something that is kind of a good thing.
The Evil Queen and Snow White, she had a nice body. Maleficent had a nice body. Jafar
Well, she said the
was
majority.
skinny.
I'm just going off what Zelda said.
Gaston has a great body, and he's
Gaston.
Gaston is when you go and a pro tip, if you go to Disney World or any of the Disney parks and you have a chance to meet Gaston, his his character, like his acting ability is to insult the other people that are around you. He will make fun. I've seen him argue, like the actor, several actors obviously play the Gaston character throughout the parks, but I've seen him argue with little girls and get in fights with little girls, and the little girls will walk away proud that they stood up to Gaston. It's the cutest thing you'll ever see, but that's probably one of my more favorite villains too.
Favorite sports villain?
I mean, it's hard not to say A-Rod. Can we just say Alex Rodriguez?
As your favorite sports
now
villain?
That he's retired,
or your least favorite
not
sports villain?
Well, is there a favorite and least favorite? Sports villain is one you don't like.
Right. Well, but
right?
Favorite sports villain is someone, like I could say LeBron James would be my favorite sports villain. I don't dislike LeBron James. I don't root for him, but I certainly respect his greatness. I just don't like all the decisions that he's made.
For my favorite, I'll say Mariano Rivera.
Okay, that's
because
a good one.
Red Sox fans always gave him a standing ovation.
That's a great one.
Yeah. Especially after 2004.
Yeah,
great
gave
Yankees
up that.
closer.
I went with Draymond Green. He's my favorite villain in sports. He starts fights with everybody. He kicks people in the nether regions. He showed up he made fun of LeBron's suit shorts and wore his own suit shorts.
What was that? Come on now.
Maybe his legs get hotter or something. I don't know. But I saw the post game interview that he after JR's misjudgment is what we're gonna call it. After game 1, they were giving a press conference, and Draymond Green trying not to comment on it. Just the faces that he makes. Like he's definitely my favorite villain in the NBA.
Tyler, who's yours?
I would go with Draymond Green, but I also love LeVar Ball. I can't get enough of LeVar Ball.
I agree with you.
LeVar Ball is just too funny. He's hilarious.
Nope.
Did you thank the doctor for bringing you into this world?
I am a hater. I am a full-on hater. Nope.
So the fact that he's kind of been off the radar recently, will you still Google LeVar Ball to see what he's been up to?
No.
That's crazy.
I won't seek out LeVar Ball, but if he finds me, I do enjoy LeVar Ball's.
Well, certainly from the producer aspect, he can fill some great audio, clips and takes that can run for
I do love how when he sort of insulted Christine Leahy and he said, stay in your lane, and then he got so much heat for it, and then he comes out with the shirt. He just doubles down. I love when people double down on their opinions instead of just cowering back and just issuing, the PR apology. When you double down on it and make a t-shirt, I was like, I kind of like him too.
I'm with Donna. I absolutely cannot stand him, and I love the fact that he has not been in the news recently.
You are a hater.
Yep, full on, and I'm proud of it.
2 minutes.
That's why it's really interesting to me when people talk about if LeBron goes to LA. That would be a really interesting dynamic to see how LeBron would deal with, if there would be any sort of LeVar Ball, conversation, how he would deal with it. Because I feel like he would be able to put him in his place, but at the same time, LeVar might seize that opportunity to get his name out there even more, LeVar Ball and controversy with LeBron James.
Just don't do it. Just no comment. No.
Lastly, real quick, we only have a minute. Blythe, what is this software that helps you block time-consuming apps? We can talk about it more next week, but in case people want to
it's
off on the right foot.
Apple's iPhone. It's they had their annual conference on Monday, and they announced that they're going to start helping you with your phone addiction. They realize people are addicted to their phones, and they want to start giving you solutions to block out some of the noise, so you can get back to enjoying, I guess, everyday life. So what they're going to do is they're going to start enhancing the do not disturb function. So it'll tell you how much time you've spent on Instagram, how much time you spent on Twitter. You can set time limits for yourself on those apps, and it'll warn you when you come close to that time limit, so you can say, I only want to spend an hour on social media a day, and that's how they'll block you from it.
An hour? That seems like a long time. All right, that'll do it for us tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes. We'll be back next Tuesday night. And by the way, FSU now up 5-3 on Washington. They were able to have a little comeback. Stay tuned for Hacker After Dark with Andrew Gibson. That is coming up next. Listen to 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
I like both of those, Alex. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back here next Tuesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. Hit that little bell so you get the notification. And we'll be back next week. Bye.
Sorry, Hacker.